So hello everybody, thank you for joining me. If you're new to my channel and you're watching this for the first time, well, I am a person that decided to explore natural cycle and mini IVF. And I attempted a conventional cycle IVF and spent $6,000 worth of medication. Ended up with a one follicle, was a poor responder, and did extensive research and then fell into the world of wonderful mini natural cycle IVF. And so today I'm actually going to give you guys an update about what happened with the lone egg that was retrieved. And so I went through my first IVF, never gone through an IVF, had one canceled. So this was actually my first IVF. Ended up being a minimal stimulation IVF protocol, but then ended up with one follicle retrieved. And the one follicle actually had an egg. And you know, they say it only takes one. However, hubby and I are very well aware that this is a journey. We are experimenting the possibility, of doing a what they call embryo banking, in the hopes of at least trying to have one biological child of ours if we could. And so it's something new, but something that older women with diminished ovarian reserve, who are poor responders, can actually work with. And the way that it works is the clinic I'm working with, which is Life IVF Center, the wonderful Life IVF Center, Dr. Yillian is fantastic, is that they do what they can with the eggs you have. And the statistics for my age are 1 out of every 6, 1 out of every 8. I just turned 43. And so those are the statistics. And in order for people of my age group at that particular clinic to actually have an embryo, because as you know, not all eggs retrieved end up being blastocyst, that likelihood of the eggs or embryos ending up being blast is actually 1 out of every 2 out of every 3, is the statistics, if I understood that correctly. So that has helped me and my husband kind of work out our planning. And so, yeah, so I'll get right to it to kind of share. This journey is all about celebrating, the milestones and the steps. And oh my gosh, I was so nervous, but we are so, so happy. I can't tell you how happy we are. Not because what we are about to share will lead into what we really want. We don't know that. But for the longest time, we did IUIs. And with IUI, you can't really tell anything, and they fail. And, they talk about it's a result of, they think it's poor quality and all that. But I always wondered if my eggs ever really fertilized. Like, did we even really fertilize anything? And so this was so good to be able to receive the report. So I'll get right to it now that I've shared the background. So our lab that we're working with now actually gives you an embryo report. And so the grading is the egg retrieved is either a mature egg, which is M double I, an MI, which is an immature egg second stage, a GV, which is an immature egg first stage, and then degenerate egg, which is an egg that has failed to proceed with development or is not viable. So the GV, MI, and MII, or we can say, for purposes of just making it easy to understand, the GV, M1, and M2, those concur with GV, egg has stopped maturation at the first stage of development. M1, egg has stopped maturation at the second stage. And then obviously M2, which is it has finished all stages of the egg development and it is ready for the ICSI, which will lead to the fertilization. So that was what we wanted to see because we didn't know, well, is it going to fertilize, And it's the first retrieval, and it's the first of many retrievals to come, because when you do embryo banking, the intention is to do it multiple times. And so it's really exciting because, again, small victories, just being happy with the small victories. We had one follicle. We were fortunate that that follicle had an egg. Not all follicles have eggs. Our follicle had an egg. And this egg was actually M1 on day 0. It was retrieved as an immature egg, which stopped maturation at the second stage of egg development. So what they did is they cultured it to try to get it to complete all stages of development so that it could be ready for fertilization. And on day 1, it did. So the day after retrieval, it moved on, a little fighter, to the M2 stage. I think so the little egg in me moved on as best as it could, wanting to get fertilized. And so then they did the day 1 ICSI on the second day. And then on the third day, it fertilized. So the stage was that it fertilized, and obviously the plan is to continue to culture it to see how far it's going to go. So it made it to day 3. Day 3 is what they commonly call cleavage stage. But this clinic does believe in getting it to go to blast because, what's the use of transferring it at cleavage? And also my lining wasn't very thick. It was actually a 6.5, which is, the clinic likes to see an 8 before they do any type of transfer. And sometimes your endometrial lining or the way that your womb is, it has to be ready for transfer. And sometimes having a thin lining isn't the most helpful. But either way, we were actually not even contemplating doing a fresh one for this one because it's our first retrieval. Maybe if we go through a couple and we're finding nothing is progressing and we just want to take chances because we're kind of running out of options, we might do that. But we do want to give this a chance to hopefully mature some more, get to blast. And then we also actually signed up for PGT testing, PGTA testing for to check the chromosomes if they're normal or not. So, but it's small victory. Do we think it's gonna get there? We hope, fingers crossed. But yeah, but we're just gonna have to wait. So the lab actually sent an email and said that, they will contact us once it reaches the stage of the development or day 7, because it might, be progressing really slowly. And I think at day 7 is when they kind of make that decision, if it's slowly maturing. But if it matures the way that it's supposed to be, then if it's earlier than day 7, they said that they will let us know. So kind of keeping fingers crossed. So that's where we are. So again, in this journey, you have to kind of celebrate the milestones. And I think what is really, really important for our family is that we were just trying to give our eggs a chance. We understood that we were poor responders. We were glad we tried conventional IVF once. We spent $6,000 worth of medication. We were at the maximum dose. We were only able to have one mature egg. And as a result, they canceled our cycle and made it an IUI. Now we found a clinic that is willing to retrieve, even if it's just one, and be able to work with it with minimal protocol medication wise. I actually ended up using what was left over out of my first IVF conventional cycle. And so didn't spend any money because I had all these medications. And I still have some medications left over. And so I'm just so glad I found this clinic. So yeah, that's a little bit about where we are. So the next video, I'll definitely share what has happened with this first retrieval, whether or not it was able to mature And hopefully, if it does mature, if it will go to PGTA testing so they can find out if it's abnormal or not. We're hoping. The funny thing is, in this journey, the doctor says that some women, because remember, it's 1 out of every 6 or 1 out of every 8 that becomes normal. And in order for you to make an embryo to even test, it's 2 out of every 3 for my age group. So 2 out of every 3 embryos to make blast. So we're hoping that this one would be the 1 out of the 2 out of 3 to make blast. And so it's just kind of working with it to see. All right, so that's where we are. Wish us luck. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.